As I told you in a previous session, turning 40 hit me really hard and threw me into a dark night of the soul, into a deep crisis that pushed me to wake up and begin my rebirth. If you haven't seen that episode, I recommend you do, because that way you'll understand much better what I want to share with you here and what I want to do with you in this session. I want to help you wake up, to take off the masks that limit you, and to release the burdens that weigh you down, so that with what we're going to do, you can live with freedom, authenticity, and true, beautiful love. If you want to keep sleeping, that's fine. Go to sleep, turn off this video now, and keep living an unsatisfying fantasy on autopilot. It's going to feel like a lucid dream, like in the movie Vanilla Sky, but the reality is that it's a falsehood. But if, on the other hand, you want to wake up and be reborn and live a real life, even if it's not perfect, but it's beautiful, then stay in this session and let me guide you. Because if you follow my words, and especially the meditation we're going to do, today a new version of you can begin, and that will improve your whole life and your relationships. Let's start with the context. Only then will you understand what I want to achieve with you today. Carl Jung once said that life doesn't truly begin until we've done the preparatory work. Esta vida no es simplemente una preparación. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our journey through the first 4 decades of life is not the main story of our life, but simply a preparation. Life really begins at 40, said Carl Jung. Until then, you're just doing research. We live in a culture that has taught us to fear the passage of time. We were taught to run so we wouldn't grow old, to pretend to be young, to cover up wrinkles, and to deny our shadow. They sold us the idea that aging is synonymous with going downhill, with decline, chaos, loss, crisis. And don't even get me started on middle age. Popular culture paints it as a caricature. This guy who feels forever young and goes out to buy a red motorcycle to feel younger. Or the woman who desperately rushes to try every cream and treatment to stop wrinkles, sagging, and aging. People in their 40s lost on Tinder looking for validation, or all those who wake up one day asking themselves, is this all there is? We were taught to see our 40s as a curve that's already on its way down, but no one told us that it's actually a portal. And something else we weren't taught is that this stage isn't just a crisis, it's a profound awakening. And that brings a lot of collateral beauty. Carl Jung said it without anesthesia. Life doesn't begin until you do the inner work. And generally, before 40, you're just researching and doing preparatory work. That's just how it is. During the first 40 years of your life, even though it sounds harsh, in theory, you're making a kind of draft in a very beginner way and with very little awareness, trying out identities, seeking validation, wanting to fit in, figuring out who you are, what you want, who you need to please, to feel loved or to belong, what you have to do to be chosen, to be admired, to be validated. And so you explore, you shape yourself, you mold yourself, you fall, you get back up, but you don't fully belong to yourself yet. You're more like being yourself, programmed sometimes by love, other times by fear. And in that back and forth between love and fear, and so many other feelings and emotions, you build an identity, a career, a reputation, a family, an image, a whole character who seeks to earn the applause, recognition, validation, and acceptance of others. Even though many times that means being disloyal to yourself or losing yourself. But underneath all of that, there's a question that never goes away. And it's the one we all ask ourselves. What if I'm not all that I've built? What if I'm more? And if I don't want to be this character anymore, what can I do? The first 40 years are like the first half of a movie, the part where the character still doesn't know who he really is. He's on autopilot, trying to survive, adapt, and comply. Just like you. You study, you work, you get into relationships, you do what's expected of you, but you do it through a character, or rather through what Carl Jung calls the persona, a social mask, a false identity that works and helps you survive until it starts to squeeze your soul and your whole. Think of those years before you turn 40 as a phase of exploration, a time when we all gather experiences, build identities, and basically learn how the world works. Or so we think. It's a time of very rapid growth where we absorb ideas and values from the people and the culture around us. But it's also a time of a lot of searching. Questions like, who am I? Why have I had the relationships I've had? What should I do with my life? What will make me happy? Where do I want to go? These are questions that drive us, especially in our youth. We are trying to understand life while we are still discovering who we are. We build careers, relationships, and families, but often from a place and with a very wrong approach. I mean, like based on external success and seeking to gain social approval and cultural validation. Not so much our own. We are learning, making an effort, and sometimes stumbling and failing, but all of that shapes us. However, as Carl Jung suggests, all of this is preparation, it's research, it's laying the groundwork for something deeper. When we approach our 40s, we start to feel that the old ways of living no longer work for us or no longer satisfy us. And then there comes a moment right there, around the age of 40, when something breaks. The priorities that used to dominate you, like status, success, what you should be, the perfect marriage, and those kinds of things start to lose their importance and appeal. Suddenly, all those things you were supposed to want don't move you at all anymore. And then you start to feel an emptiness, an internal buzzing that won't be silenced by achievements or likes, not by sex, not by shopping. It's a need for something you can't buy, show off, or explain. That's when we realize that much of what we've been building in ourselves wasn't our essence, but goals shaped by other people's definitions of success and happiness, from someone outside, from our world, from our culture. And when I say world, our world, I mean our external world, not our internal one. In that process, we realize that much of what we have been building within ourselves wasn't really something that truly matched our essence, but rather were goals and objectives that were planted in us, that were shaped by other people's definitions of success and happiness. From our culture, from our parents, from our grandparents, from I don't know, the TV we watched, the movies we saw, the books we read, and of course, the social media we check so often. And when we realize that, we get uneasy, but we also feel liberated. That's the beginning of a new phase. It's a phase that Carl Jung called individuation, a process of not just wanting to play the role, but wanting to become a complete person who lives their life on their own terms, in their own time, and by their own standards. That's what I call conquering your inner world. And that's basically what I teach to thousands of students in my digital academy. Because even though Carl Jung already had it very clear and taught it to many of us, his theories are already 100 years old. And the world has changed a lot. Anos. And that's why new thinkers and mentors are updating them to keep helping ourselves. Among ourselves, first to ourselves, and then to others. I hope I was. This conquest of your inner world, which Carl Jung calls individuation, is not a sudden change and doesn't happen overnight. It's not automatic either, nor is it a linear process. It's more of a gradual process. And it usually needs to start with, I don't know, small discomforts, more irritabilities, silent questions that invite you to feel very bitter things. And if you go deeper, they open the door to a crisis of thought and emotion. You start asking yourself things like, is this all there is? Am I living the life I really want? Am I happy? Do I live with fulfillment or just with pleasures? Am I truly loved and do I truly love? Am I alone in this life? Do I like my relationships? Why am I feeling this way in this situation? Why is it so intense if the situation isn't? These questions can come up during moments of reflection, a significant birthday, an argument with your partner, a deep conversation, or even on quiet nights when you're alone with yourself. But once they appear, they don't go away. They start to grow, become stronger and stronger, and demand more and more answers. And those answers require us to confront ourselves in ways we never have before. If we want to avoid them and not listen to these emotions and not give them these answers, they're going to start screaming at us. If you join this program, believe me, it'll be the deepest experience you'll have in life. If you avoid it or repress it through distraction, rationalization, logic, or blaming others, and the pleasures or substances that distract you, numb you, or anesthetize you so you don't feel, not only will you miss out on something beautiful for your life, but you'll also get sick. Pain, ignorance, irritability, addictions, physical illnesses, and also mental illnesses will drown you. Conquering your inner world and undergoing individuation isn't comfortable because that's where your demons, your ghosts, your old beliefs, your wounds, your loyalties, your traumas, your appear, all your obsolete programming and all the darkness of the shadow that contains everything you hid under the rug and everything you repressed. Your fears, your anger, your sadness, your desires, the things you didn't say, everything you learned to hide to be accepted, or everything you kept quiet so you wouldn't make others uncomfortable. And yes, it hurts. It hurts a lot, but it also sets you free. Tigrata. Because when you stop running from yourself and when you finally sit down to have a coffee with your darkness and your shadow, you discover that what you thought was weakness was actually your true strength waiting to be acknowledged and integrated. It's not about changing jobs or partners, although sometimes that's what needs to happen. It's about stripping yourself bare in front of yourself and for yourself, about looking at what you hid under the emotional rug, about stopping living the way others expect you to and starting to live as the person you truly are, not as the person others expect you to be. The world may see this as a midlife crisis. They diminish its value by so easily labeling these moments of questioning as if it were just a crisis. But it's not just a crisis, it's a whole opportunity. This stage of life, with all its challenges, pains, doubts, and bitter tastes, is exactly what we all need to be able to open the door to change, to become the person we were always meant to be. Middle age is not the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of something much more real, meaningful, and authentic for us. The midlife crisis, which can happen to you earlier or later as well, depending on your level of awareness, is your soul saying, that's enough, now it's my turn. And from there, everything changes. You don't seek validation, you seek authenticity. You no longer want to answer to anyone. You want to solbiri. You want to sleep peacefully with yourself. It's no longer about shining to impress others. It's about having peace and feeling that glow inside you. Life becomes less about doing, having, achieving, or accumulating, and more about being, building, and developing.
living.
It becomes less about proving your worth and more about living in alignment with it. It becomes less about looking outward and more about looking inward. It becomes less about branded clothes, luxuries, and things to maintain your facade so that people see you, like you, and envy you on social media. And it becomes more about real wealth, more love, more kindness, more empathy, and that kind of attractiveness that only someone who is truly genuine has. And you know what? I'm not the only one saying it. It's not just Carl Jung who says it. Science also confirms it. Studies show that as we age, our brains regulate emotions better. We become more reflective, wiser, less impulsive. And finally, we stop living on autopilot and start living with more intention. Sadly, many people never achieve this in their lives. and others only achieve it when they have little time left to enjoy it. That's why inner work and consciously conquering your own world with strong willpower is so important. So you don't let so much time pass by, don't waste it, and can live your life in a much better way. You must learn to say goodbye to those old versions of yourself, to relationships that no longer work, to goals that no longer mean anything, to achievements that were just band aids for your pain. Doing it on your own is very uncomfortable, it's messy, it's confusing, and it can be very overwhelming. That's why I always recommend doing all this with a mentor, someone who can give you a clear step by step methodology and a certain level of support, just like we do at the Conquista Tu Mundo Academy. Because that way, the crisis is no longer your worst enemy, but rather just a challenge and a kind of untangling. And it's the discovery of the meaning and purpose of your new life. Viktor Frankl said it better than anyone. The deepest drive of the human being is to find meaning. And at this age, that drive becomes urgent. You can no longer live for superficial things. You need purpose. You need truth. You need a life that feels like your own, even if others don't like it. And that requires courage. It requires bravery because you have to face your fears. You have to confront all those fears of judgment, of failure, of rejection, and of the unknown. But it's also the opportunity to rewrite your story, to stop repeating inherited scripts, to stop building a life the way you were told you had to, and to start building a life that feels right for you. One that makes you too proud and is truly yours, and that eventually, if you want, you can share with someone else. The character you built is not your whole self. It's just a mask that helps others believe you are someone you project to them. It's not just what you think of yourself, but what you want others to believe about you. It's a role you play. And although it serves its purpose in this in social and survival world, it's only a part of who you are. And this happens to all of us. The problem arises when we get too attached to that role, to that mask, to that character, making the mistake of confusing it with our true self and letting that character take the lead in our whole story. We become dependent on the mask and no longer know who we are without it. But on certain occasions, especially when we reach our 40s or when we go through something difficult like a loss, a breakup, or a serious financial problem, the cracks in that mask start to show. The roles we've been playing, like the professional, the successful one, the dutiful partner, the impeccable parent, the perfect child, and things like that, start to feel very limiting and very restrictive. We start to realize that there is more to us than just the image we've been projecting and more than just the character we've been inventing and have come to believe ourselves to be. And this is where the real work begins. John called those parts the archetypes, meaning the other characters within you that should also come on stage so that not just one dominates the whole show. This process of going beyond the mask is called individuation. Individuation is about conquering and integrating all the parts of ourselves, meaning our inner world, not just the socially acceptable parts or the things we know will work well for us, but also the hidden and shadowy aspects that we have ignored or repressed. The shadow, as Jung described it, contains everything we have denied about ourselves. Our fears, insecurities, unfulfilled desires, repressed dreams, and so on. The shadow, as Jung described it, contains everything we have rejected about ourselves: our fears, insecurities, and above all, our unfulfilled desires. It's that part that contains all the versions of ourselves that we haven't wanted to accept or allow to come to the surface. Facing the shadow can be very uncomfortable and very painful, but it's essential for our growth and for our fulfillment. Only by recognizing and accepting all these parts of ourselves and all these versions that we also have, even if we don't want to see them, can we become whole. That's how we can become people who have conquered their inner world and not half beings or incomplete beings or beings who are fragmented. At 40, the conquest of your inner world and the process of individuation gain new relevance and urgency. The questions we face are no longer just about external achievements or relationships. Now it's all about inner fulfillment. Now it's things like, what really matters to me? What do I want to leave behind? What do I need to heal? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to improve about myself? What life do I want to create? And what do I no longer want? What kind of relationship do I want? And what am I willing to give? But also, what am I going to allow myself to receive? And what am I not? These kinds of questions are personal, and the answers can't be found in other people's expectations or in social molds. They require us to turn to ourselves, to listen to ourselves, and to listen to our soul. Doing this creates a complete change in how we see life and makes us rethink our own priorities. That is self realization. And as Maslow used to say, it's not about being perfect, it's about being yourself with everything, with your light, with your shadow, with your chaos and your clarity, with your scars and your desire to start over. And yes, it's hard, but it's also worth every minute invested, every penny spent, and every emotion experienced. Because the people who dare to cross this threshold end up much more connected with themselves, more fulfilled, freer, more at peace, but above all, more alive. And that makes everything in their life more better relationships, better finances, better experiences, better friends, because they have become more. And so automatically they choose situations and people who are up to their level. They no longer settle for just anything because they no longer need crumbs when they are whole. The thing is, your 40s are not the end of anything, but the beginning of everything. Real life, the one that doesn't need masks or scripts, begins when you choose yourself, when you ask the right questions, when you stop running away and finally sit down with yourself. When you no longer avoid things or live in distraction, but instead you listen to yourself and fully embrace yourself. But above all, you take care of yourself. That's where true self fulfillment lies, not in being a millionaire, having a partner, children, or a peaceful life, but in completing yourself, in integrating your soul and conquering your inner world. For that, I want to help you take the first step. I want to help you turn inward and look at yourself. If you want to follow this meditation, it's important that you are in a very quiet place, without much noise, without distractions, or anything that could interrupt this journey we're going to take, because we're going to head deep inside. So make yourself comfortable and follow my voice. Take a deep breath. Relax. Get into a comfortable position. Keep breathing deeply. And for a moment, forget about everything. Stop your thoughts. Nothing is urgent. Everything can wait, except you. Eh. Focus on the tip of your nose. And if your mind wants to wander somewhere else, somewhere that's not here and now, to the tip of your nose. Follow my words so you can truly listen to yourself. Take a deep breath and let's begin the journey. Maybe you've been comfortable for years. Keep breathing, holding on, achieving, and surviving. Maybe you've done everything right: the job, the partner, the kids, the goals. And still, there's something in your chest that won't settle, a murmur, an emptiness, a certain something that shows up just when you're alone. No, you're not going crazy. You're not getting lost or confused. You're not falling apart. You're waking up. And this is your turning point. You're crossing a threshold, an invisible door. You're entering a crisis. But not a crisis the way culture portrays it. No, not as something that comes to hurt you, not as the beginning of your failure, not as a victim, but as the true beginning of a person who wants to listen to themselves in order to conquer their soul. The life you've lived until now wasn't bad. It was necessary. It was preparation. It was the research your soul did before learning how to live. You were the son, the friend, the professional, the provider. You played roles. You wore masks. You played characters. You did what you had to do. And all of that was fine. But now that's not enough to unlock the next level of your life. This is not a time to prove yourself. It's a time to remember who you are. You've reached an age where it's no longer enough to live outwardly. It's time to return to yourself, to look inside, to stop running and start inhabiting yourself. Don't be afraid if everything starts to move. If you no longer recognize yourself, if what used to motivate you now bores you, if certainties are shaken and questions keep chasing you, this isn't just a crisis. It's your soul asking for space. It's your shadow knocking at the door. It's life itself calling you back home. You are right where you need to be. And with this session, and with this voice, and in this moment, this is not a coincidence. You are listening to an invitation that your soul makes to you, that your soul is making to you, to integrate your story, to honor your falls, to embrace your lost parts, to take off your mask, and to conquer your world from within. Because it's no longer about surviving or fitting in. Your life is no longer there, and you don't need to do that anymore. Now your life needs you to become whole, to be free, that you be yourself. Breathe. And with every exhale through your mouth, let go of everything that no longer serves you. Breathe. Not to relax, but to return to yourself, to make space in your chest and in your heart for the exhale to be the door to that part of you that has been waiting for you all along. Breathe, 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 breathe all your life. Look back without fear. Think about that boy or girl you once were. Think about how sensitive, how curious, how willing to love you were. Remember what you dreamed of, what you expected from life, what you imagined you would be when you grew up. Do you remember? Then came the demands, the external voices, the wounds, the you have to, the shoulds, the you can't, the masks you had to put on to survive. Learn to function, not to bother anyone, to please others, to try harder than necessary, to keep quiet when something hurt, to toughen up when all you wanted was to be fragile and get a hug. And so the years went by. You became strong. You became capable. You became needed by others. And you made it. Of course you made it. Look at everything you've built in yourself, on your path, and in your life. Everything you saw, everything you faced, everything you held up, even when there was no one else. But who has held up your soul? Who has embraced your deepest fears? those you don't even dare to name, those ones, not even, who has accompanied your silent exhaustion, the invisible one that weighs heavily on you, who has recognized your old sadness, the one that kept building up in your body like extra weight, debt, or anxiety. Maybe no one, or maybe someone did, but you didn't know how to let yourself be cared for because you were too busy being strong, too conditioned or programmed to resist. And that's also part of your story, and you don't have to erase it. You don't have to judge it either. You just have to embrace it and honor it, because everything you were brought you here. And now that you're here, now that life is calling you from somewhere else, you can start doing something different. You can start to heal, to let go, and to truly live. Something inside you has begun to move. You know it, you feel it. You can't explain it with words, but it's there. Maybe you call it tiredness, or you feel it as apathy, or you disguise it as boredom. Maybe you think it's anxiety or an urge to change everything. But in reality, it's your soul calling you. And it does so like this, without shouting and without drama, but with a lot of discomfort, because that's what that voice is telling you. It's not enough for us anymore. This version of yourself doesn't work for you anymore. You can't keep being just who others expect you to be. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not failing. And you're not crazy. You're simply waking up. And is it uncomfortable? Yeah. Because when you wake up, certainties fall away. Your priorities get mixed up. And what you were so sure of before starts to shake. The same ambition no longer motivates you, recognition no longer fulfills you, and validation no longer excites you. You no longer seek applause. You seek to find yourself. What you called a midlife crisis is actually the beginning of your individuation. It's the moment when the mask begins to crack. The character you built can no longer be sustained by your soul. And your soul no longer feels complete with that character. Your shadow wants to be seen, your wounds want to be heard, your inner child wants to be cared for, and your essence wants to be lived. This is the moment when many people feel broken, but in reality, they are being opened. Opened by life, by time, by the soul that no longer wants to keep waiting. And yes, it's scary. Because leaving behind a version of yourself, no matter how painful or limited it may be, is also a loss. But you should be more afraid of living a life that is no longer yours. You should be more afraid of playing a role that no longer represents you and holding up a world that no longer reflects you. So look at yourself with love, with tenderness, with the respect you deserve. You deserve it because you've carried so much, and even so, you're still here, willing to let it all go to come back to yourself. This is not a crisis. It's a call to your truth. If you've made it this far, it's because you already are ready or prepared to answer it. It's time to take off the mask, the one you put on so people would like you, the one you became skilled at using, so skilled that even you believed it. That mask of the strong, successful person who never makes mistakes, who always gives, who always endures, who can do it all alone. But underneath that mask, there's a face that's tired of pretending, a heart that has learned to hide its pain behind a functional smile, a soul that longs to be seen, whole. And what if you no longer need applause? And what if you no longer have to prove anything? What if you finally let yourself just be you with no embellishments, filters, or fear? What would happen? Look inside. Look deep. There you are, covered by your shadow. That shadow is not your enemy. It's just a part of you that had to hide to survive. There are your fears, your insecurities, your unexpressed anger, your repressed desires, and your unattended and unacknowledged sadness. Don't push all that away any further. Don't silence yourself with distractions. Don't disguise them with productivity or good intentions. And don't numb or anesthetize them with substances. Your shadow doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to give you back your wholeness. It wants to remind you that you are also all those things you haven't wanted to see, and that only when you embrace it will you be able to reclaim yourself. Conquer your darkness and you will claim your freedom. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to improve yourself. You just need to accept yourself. And that acceptance is not resignation. It's revolution, because it's there. In that moment when you stop fighting with yourself, that you discover you were never broken. You were just separated from yourself. Now, it's time to bring all your parts together. Make space for your light and your shadow, for your achievements and your failures, for your wounded child and for your adult wisdom. Now it's time to stop living from the wound and start living from awareness. You've already done enough. You've already been strong, more than you needed to be. You've already fulfilled all the roles you thought, gave you value. You wore the mask so perfectly that for a while you forgot who you were underneath it. But that's over now, because now you know it. You didn't come here to fit in. You came to expand. You came to live awake. You came to conquer yourself. And for that, you don't need to become someone else. You just need to return to you. Return to what you were before you started pleasing others, to your genuine laughter, to your forgotten passions, to your unapologetic dreams, to that part of you that remains intact. Even if the world has told you many times that you shouldn't be that way. And if you're wondering where to start by listening to yourself, by forgiving yourself, by speaking to yourself with love, by staying with yourself even when it's hard or the day is gray. Begin by being honest with yourself, letting go of your old self, and stop avoiding who you are. And start to remember this. You are ready to return to yourself, to integrate what you were and what you want to be, to turn your story into purpose, your wounds into wisdom, and your fear into drive. Because life doesn't start when you achieve everything. Life starts when you choose yourself, when you stop acting, and when you decide to be. And if you're 40 or close to it, don't see it as an end. See it for what it really is. The beginning of your real life, the return home. The moment when you stop searching out there, because you've already learned that everything you were looking for was always inside you. You can open your eyes now. And please, tell me how you feel. What did you discover? What part of yourself are you finally seeing? What part of yourself do you need to integrate into your soul to reclaim your inner world? I hope this session and this meditation have helped you a lot to settle many things inside yourself. But unfortunately, one session is not enough. So I hope you stick around and subscribe to the channel so you can receive all the other sessions. But above all, so that eventually, when I open enrollment for my academy, my courses, and my mentorship, you can be there so that I can help you conquer your inner world. See you soon.